My name is Eleanor. I turned 101 this past winter, and I still live in the same small house where my husband and I raised our children. It's a quiet house now. The bedrooms upstairs are empty most of the time. The kitchen table that once held 5 people every evening now usually holds just 1 cup of tea and a folded newspaper. So when people hear my age and learn that I live alone, they often ask the same question with a worried expression. Don't you feel lonely? I understand why they ask. Loneliness is something many people fear as they grow older. Friends pass away, children move away. The world changes faster than you expect it to. But the truth is something that often surprises people. I am alone quite often, but I rarely feel lonely. And that isn't luck. It's because over the years I discovered 4 simple rules that quietly protected me from loneliness. I didn't create these rules intentionally when I was young. I learned them slowly, sometimes through sadness, sometimes through observation, and sometimes through mistakes. The first rule may sound very simple, but it is more powerful than most people realize. I never allowed my world to shrink to the size of my house. That temptation arrives sooner than people expect, especially after loss. My husband passed away when I was 74. We had been married almost 50 years. For the first time in decades, the house felt unfamiliar. Every room held memories of conversations, routines, and small habits we had built together. For weeks after his passing, I moved through those rooms quietly. I closed the curtains earlier in the evening. I stopped answering the phone as quickly. I told myself I needed time to rest, and that was partly true. Grief requires rest. But grief also invites something more dangerous if you're not careful. Withdrawal. One afternoon, about a month after the funeral, I sat by the living room window, watching the street outside. People were walking past, a woman pushing a stroller, a man jogging with headphones, 2 children racing each other on bicycles. Life was still moving. And suddenly I realized something uncomfortable. The world had not become smaller. I had. Without noticing, I had begun living entirely inside the walls of my own home. And homes, even beautiful ones, can quietly become cages if you never step outside them. That afternoon, I made a small decision, nothing dramatic. I put on my coat and walked to the corner bakery. It was only a 10-minute walk, but it felt strangely unfamiliar. When you stay inside too long, the outside world begins to feel distant. At the bakery counter, the young woman behind the register smiled and asked what I would like. I ordered a loaf of bread. She asked how my day was going. Such a simple question, but in that moment I realized how important small conversations can be. We spoke for less than a minute, yet when I stepped back onto the sidewalk with that warm loaf of bread in my hands, something inside me felt lighter. That tiny exchange had reminded me of something essential. Connection does not always require deep relationships. Sometimes it begins with brief, ordinary interactions. A smile from a stranger, a few words exchanged over a counter, a nod from someone walking past. Those small moments accumulate over time, and they quietly protect the heart from isolation. From that day forward, I created a habit. Every day, no matter how simple the reason, I stepped outside my house. Sometimes I walked to the bakery again. Sometimes I visited the small park 2 blocks away. Sometimes I simply walked around the neighborhood and greeted people tending their gardens. The reason didn't matter. Presence did. Being present in the world allows the world to notice you again. And when the world notices you, loneliness loses much of its power. Over the years, I watched many people my age slowly disappear from the rhythm of daily life. Not physically disappear, but socially. They stopped going out because it felt inconvenient. They declined invitations because they felt tired. They told themselves they would reconnect later. Later is a word that quietly builds walls. The longer you wait, the harder it becomes to step outside again. That is why my first rule became so important. Do not allow your world to shrink, even when it feels easier to stay inside, especially when it feels easier. The second rule I followed was something many people forget as they grow older. I never waited for people to reach out to me first. In youth, friendships seem effortless. People call, plans appear, gatherings happen naturally. But adulthood changes that rhythm. Everyone becomes busy. Work schedules expand. Families grow. Responsibilities multiply. If you sit quietly and wait for others to initiate contact, silence can stretch longer than you expect. I learned this lesson in my 60s. A close friend of mine moved across town. For months, we both assumed the other person would call first. Neither of us did. Nearly a year passed before we realized how easily distance can form when no one takes initiative. After that, I decided something simple. If someone crossed my mind, I reached out. A phone call, a short visit, even a handwritten note. Initiative does something remarkable. It reminds people they matter. And most people respond warmly when they feel remembered. Many times when I called someone unexpectedly, their voice brightened immediately. "Oh, Eleanor, I was just thinking about you." Perhaps they truly had been, or perhaps they simply felt relieved that someone had opened the door to conversation. Either way, the result was the same: connection. And connection is the opposite of loneliness. But the third rule I followed was something even more subtle. I remained curious about other people. Curiosity keeps the heart open. When you ask someone about their life with genuine interest, you step into their story for a moment, and they step into yours. For many years, I volunteered one afternoon each week at our local library. My job was simple: returning books to shelves, helping visitors find what they needed. But what I truly gained from those afternoons was not work. It was conversation. Students searching for textbooks, parents looking for bedtime stories for their children, older visitors reading newspapers quietly in the corner. Each person carried a life far larger than the few minutes we spoke. Curiosity made those brief encounters meaningful, and meaningful encounters prevent loneliness from taking root. By the time I reached my 90s, I realized something interesting. Loneliness does not always come from a lack of people. Sometimes it comes from a lack of engagement. When you stop noticing others, others stop noticing you. But when you remain curious, the world continues to feel alive. Even in brief moments, even in passing conversations. These first 3 rules protected me for decades. Step outside. Reach out first. Stay curious. But the 4th rule I discovered much later in life. And that rule changed how I understood solitude itself. The 4th rule took me many years to understand. In fact, I didn't fully learn it until I was well into my 80s. For most of my life, I believed something many people believe without questioning. I believed loneliness was caused by being alone. That seems logical. If there are no people around, loneliness must naturally appear. But as I grew older, I began to notice something surprising. Some people were surrounded by family and still felt deeply lonely. And some people lived alone, like I did, and yet carried a quiet sense of peace. That difference puzzled me for a long time. Then I realized something important. Loneliness is not created by silence. It is created by disconnection from yourself. That is why the 4th rule became the most important one of all. I never treated solitude as an enemy. I treated it as a companion. When my husband passed away, evenings were the hardest part of the day. The house would grow quiet after dinner. For decades, we had filled those hours with conversation, small routines, and shared habits. Without him there, the silence felt unfamiliar. At first, I tried to escape it. I kept the television on longer than necessary. I filled the house with background noise. But noise does not cure loneliness. It only distracts from it. One evening, I turned the television off and sat in the quiet living room. I expected the silence to feel uncomfortable. Instead, something else happened. Memories began to surface. Not sad ones, ordinary ones. My husband laughing while trying to fix something in the kitchen. Our children arguing over homework at the table. Family dinners that lasted longer than planned. Those memories didn't hurt the way I feared they might. They felt warm. And that was the moment I realized something important. Solitude can hold connection too. Not through other people's voices, but through reflection. From that night forward, I began treating quiet time differently. Instead of avoiding it, I used it. I read books slowly, not for information, but for company. Books introduce you to new minds, new stories, new lives. Even when you are physically alone, your thoughts travel alongside someone else's. I also began writing letters. Not always letters I mailed, sometimes just thoughts on paper. Writing allowed me to speak honestly in a way conversation sometimes doesn't allow. When you write, You listen to yourself more carefully. You discover what you are actually feeling. That process builds a kind of inner friendship. And when you become comfortable with your own thoughts, solitude stops feeling like absence. It becomes space. Space for reflection. Space for creativity. Space for calm. Another habit I developed was learning something new every year. Not something complicated, just something unfamiliar. In my late 70s, I started painting simple watercolors. They were not very good, but they were joyful. In my 80s, I learned how to use a computer so I could send emails to my grandchildren. In my 90s, I began attending short lectures at the community center. New ideas kept my mind engaged with the present moment. Engagement prevents loneliness from settling in, because loneliness often grows where curiosity has stopped. There is something else that helped me maintain that sense of connection: gratitude. Gratitude is a quiet practice, but it transforms the way you experience solitude. Every evening before bed, I began listing 3 small things from the day that I appreciated. Sometimes they were simple: a pleasant conversation with a neighbor, a good cup of tea, sunlight warming the garden. Those small recognitions reminded me that life was still offering moments worth noticing. And noticing is the opposite of drifting into loneliness. As the years passed, I realized something surprising. Solitude can become one of life's richest experiences when you are not afraid of it. It gives you time to understand your own life, to appreciate your memories, to notice details the busy world often overlooks. That does not mean I stopped seeking connection with others. Human companionship remains essential. But when companionship comes from choice rather than desperation, it feels very different. You enjoy people more fully when you are not depending on them to fill every quiet space. And that is why these 4 rules became so powerful for me. Step outside your home. Reach out to people first. Stay curious about others. And learn to befriend your own solitude. These rules shaped the way I lived through my 80s and 90s. And as the years continued passing, something unexpected happened. Loneliness stopped feeling like a threat entirely. Instead, life began to feel like a series of small connections, some with people, some with the world, and some with my own thoughts. But there is one final lesson I learned after living more than a century, and that lesson ties all 4 rules together. After living more than 100 years, I have come to understand something simple about loneliness. It does not disappear because life becomes easier. It disappears because you learn how to participate in life again and again. Participation is the quiet thread that ties all 4 of my rules together. When you step outside your home, you participate in the world. When you reach out to someone first, you participate in connection. When you remain curious about others, you participate in their stories. And when you learn to be comfortable with solitude, you participate in your own life. That last one may be the most important. Many people spend their entire lives trying to escape quiet moments. But quiet moments are where you finally hear yourself clearly. They allow you to remember who you are when no one else is watching. At 101, my days are slower. I wake up early because sleep no longer stretches as long as it once did. I make tea in the kitchen. Sometimes I sit by the window and watch the street wake up. A delivery truck passing by, a neighbor walking their dog, children hurrying to school. These are small scenes, but they remind me that I am still part of the world's rhythm. Later in the day, I might walk to the park. I greet the same few people most mornings. We don't always talk long, sometimes just a nod or a smile. But those brief acknowledgments carry warmth. They say, "You are still here. I see you." In the afternoon, I often read, write a letter, or work in the garden. And in the evening, I sit quietly again. Some nights I think about the people who shaped my life. My husband, old friends, neighbors who moved away or passed on. Those memories don't make me lonely. They make me grateful. Because loneliness is not about how many people surround you. It is about whether you feel connected to the life you are living. And connection can be built in small ways every single day. That is what these 4 rules have taught me. Loneliness does not have to follow you into old age. Not if you continue stepping forward, into the world, into conversation, into curiosity, and into the quiet companionship of your own life. At 101, I am often alone, but I am never truly lonely, because I am still participating in the world that continues gently around me. Thank you for watching this video. Click here to watch another video that might interest you.